connecting. Oh, there we go. Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Beau from Beau'd Not Broken and famous Dave, brave Dave, the man. We've got a really a neat treat for you today. We've got, well, I'm just not even gonna say anything other than I hope you'll watch the rest of this today, or make sure you go back and look at the recording of this live today. So here we go.
Thanks, Beau. I got a good friend of mine, Jay Morgan, that's going to join us and share a little bit of his story. How's it going, Jay?
Hey, it's going good, Dave. How you doing?
Doing good. That's a nice car you got here. You going through a midlife crisis?
Well, you should mention that, Dave, because that's not the first time I've had that comment mentioned to me. This is a priceless possession of mine. Unfortunately, I lost my son, Hayden Warner Morgan, back on June 27th, 2015. Originally, this was a project that I took on. I thought I'd fix it up and sell it. After he passed, and I can't get rid of it because it's priceless to me. And obviously, me pulling up, that's my usual appearance when I drive it every day, is walking out, tunes. Just feeling like Hayden's with me.
Yep.
And and so that's how I do it. But I do get judged with people snickering when they pull up and see an old man driving a speeder, fast and furious car like this. But
Yep.
And it's easy to judge a book by its cover and
Sure.
get so many people to think, hey, why are you driving that car? And that goes hand in hand with what we're here to talk about
Sure.
today. And in that, you really can't look at people until you know what's inside, what's going on. You shouldn't judge a book by its cover.
Right. Let me give a little backstory. So Jay and I have been good friends for 10, 11 years. So I knew him before this happened, and as many of you know, I lost my son several years ago. So when it happened to Jay, I knew a lot of what he was going through. A little bit different. I had a daughter that went through treatment too, so I kind of knew, the struggles that his son he'd shared with me. And anyway, so I invited Jay to come out and speak with us about, like we talked about, the judgments of the car and the loss of a loved one. We're both grieving parents. We're in that unfortunate club that you pay the highest price, and I wanted to invite Jay out to speak with us today. So we talked about the judgments, and you talked about another thing. You kind of mentioned the story about you're telling me about, you never know, someone walking down the street, their head down.
Yeah, and as we had mentioned, we both saw the story on Facebook of an individual who was walking towards the Golden Gate Bridge, and I read about it, and I thought it kind of hits home with, you never know about somebody and how much you can change somebody's life if you just make a simple comment or acknowledge them. And that is a guy walking to the Golden Gate Bridge to commit suicide. And he said in his mind, if somebody smiles at me or says hi to me, acknowledges me, I won't do it. And he walked all the way, and you mentioned somebody had him take a picture and did this, but it really wasn't meet his criteria of saving his life, and so he went and jumped off the bridge. He did survive, and wasn't he one of the only ones that ever did?
He's one of 20 or 22 that have survived out of over 2,000 that have jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge to commit suicide. So he's a very small percentage of survivors. But he did talk about that. He didn't really want to. He talked about in that nanosecond, as his hands were leaving the rail, he said, I didn't want to die. I just wanted someone to care. I wanted people to understand, and I wanted help, but I didn't know how to get it. And that's kind of what we talk about all the time, Beau and I, and the community. We talk about reach out, and look for things. Reach out to someone. I think yesterday he talked about call someone, talk to them for 12 minutes, stuff like that. But anyway, just You talked about the judgments. Anything else you want to share specifically? We talked. You had the music. You had a couple of songs that really mean a lot to you.
Well, some of them have become, obviously one that I mentioned. I took Hayden to dinner one night, and as I was leaving, a song came on the radio, Avicii, "Wake Me Up," and it's ironic how those lyrics are, because it says, "Wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself, and I didn't even know that I was lost." Now, how powerful is that? Because when you think about addiction and suicide and all these challenges that we have in life, I mean, you're lost and you're looking for help, you're looking for guidance, and I hope that part of us getting together and doing this, making a difference to people, in the sense of, Hayden was born with hemophilia, which is a bleeding disorder. I wasn't in his shoes. I didn't feel his pain, but
sure,
they have a lot of pain and joint pain, and that's where it started with him. And then he went to doctors, and we reach out to professionals for assistance and guidance, and the doctors tell him, you're going to be on meds for the rest of your life. And the challenge with that I see is that they're prescribing benzos, the Ativan and Xanax and all these things, and obviously then it starts getting into OxyContin, and then you also you can't get the prescriptions because they're regulating filling them, and they're addicted. And then what are they going to do? Go to the street for heroin.
Yep.
And when Hayden checked into treatment, they did a blood test on him and said, hey, you've got heroin and cocaine in your system. And he said, I've never done cocaine. Well, his drug dealer was lacing his drugs with cocaine, and that's the problem you have too, is you don't even know what's out there, like they say, and that's the problem you have with the drugs, is all it takes is one time and you're addicted to heroin, and all it takes is one time with fentanyl and you're done. You don't have a time to experiment and have a second chance. And if anything we can project today, that's why I was sharing that story with the road that Hayden went down. It doesn't happen overnight, but it certainly, you get in that position, sure, when you're addicted, and you just have to have a fix.
Yep. Well, you were playing the song "How to Save a Life" when you pulled up by the Fray. Is that right?
Yes, and that's another one that obviously. That's it. When you're walking down the street, and that's reaching out to everybody. Make a kind gesture. Just reach out to somebody, something of kindness. When after Hayden passed away, we had some stories that were amazing with people that happened with. As I'm starting music, but we had shared different things where our family members were going to movie theaters, and they just pay it forward and buy the people behind them some snacks. Or, I went into Maverick and I'd buy this guy's coffee or a sandwich. I gave some money to some homeless people that were outside the store.
Sure.
It's just those types of things, and you never know how much that could really change a person's life.
Sure.
And just like we said, the guy walking to the Golden Gate Bridge could make a difference.
Yep. One thing I try to focus on every day is when I always try to open the door for someone that's walking in or out of the store, and I try to smile and say hi, and sometimes people don't even acknowledge you. They're not sure how to react because not everyone does that to them. And so anyway, just a little thing there. Anything you want to add, Bo?
Just a question about what would you say to parents, and what would you say maybe a spouse or a loved one that oftentimes we don't count an overdose as a potential suicide. Mm-hmm. Is there, and we're not going to go back and say what would you have done differently. I would say what would we do what do you tell people from here on out? What do you tell people about their children, or watching their children, or what signs, or some of those things that may, and that's the question. The other question is, how have you grieved? What has brought you to the point where you are now, being able to share the story?
Well, those are great questions. And as far as going back to, Hayden came from a good upbringing. I've been an insurance agent for 30 years. I've barely done any, and dabbled even in experimenting with any drugs.
From a good family.
Good family.
Very, very, very much. I can speak from that. I know that.
Right.
Yeah.
And his mom and his stepdad, they're both registered nurses. Had talks with him about drugs. He saw relatives that did drugs, my nephews that did drugs, and even seeing it. I think to elaborate on and hit that point is everybody thinks it's not going to happen to them. And I think that's the biggest thing. Not only as parents do you not think it's going to happen to you. I didn't. His mother told me this would happen. He had a risk for being an addictive personality. I didn't believe it. Right. And I thought, I didn't do it. He won't do it. You can't be set in that mindset. You got to be open-minded and think. I don't care if you're religious. I don't care what
doesn't matter
kind of background.
Color,
if you're
what
a blue collar,
it doesn't
white collar,
matter. It doesn't matter.
It don't matter. Nurses, if you're in the field, all it takes is, just like I said, whether it's an auto accident, a sporting injury, even a surgery for removing your wisdom teeth or something, they can get addicted, and then it's downhill, because then they're going to reach out and try and do other things. That's right. That's right. And if you've already got depression, and then they go to a professional, and the professional gives them, and they are going to take those prescriptions and do what they think is right.
Right.
As far as me grieving, this has helped. I do different things. This ring, I put this ring on Hayden he's wearing it as we speak. And, I have a bracelet. My son and I, Jaron, did this bracelet. It has Hayden's initials on it. And I reach out to all of you and challenge you. Look up the symbolism of a dragonfly. It's pretty powerful how their flapping of their wings are like so much less than a lot of the other insects, and yet they can fly like a helicopter in every direction. It's really powerful. And right there on the back, save a life.
Wow. Look at that.
That's what life's about.
And that's
that's
our mantra.
That's part of helping us grieve, I think, is reaching out. I didn't think I'd go through it. I don't want other people to go through it. Like I said, Dave's become a very dear friend from just an acquaintance, and so it's been powerful, and I'm thankful for your friendship and all this love and support. And I think, Bo, I appreciate you guys inviting me here today, but that's the type of stuff that I've done to grieve. That I think helps.
Hopefully, if you ever have thoughts, if you ever have something that might help people, let us know again, because this is not the last time. Hopefully, we'd love to have you. If something comes to mind, and you have an experience, please let us know. We'd love to have you share it.
We'd love to have anybody share their story. Everyone has a story, and it's powerful. Regardless of what you might think internally, reach out to us. And I want to thank Jay for coming out. I love him like a brother. Always much love to Bo, my brother. And last thing, I'm repping the Jazz. Go Jazz tonight. got repping the old school Jazz uni here.
That's right.
So
full blown. How many technicals the other night?
7 technicals the other night.
Let's make it 8.
So anyway, reach out to us. We're building that community. We want you to be a part of our community one way or another. Thank you. Love you. Oh.
In memory of Hayden, he always said, "Peace out.
See you soon. Have a good day.
Make it a great day."